Thank you very much, Chairman Henschel. Madam Chair, since the Chair took that line of questioning, I think prior to raising a question with you, it is important to know that the Chair and I have met on more than, I think, one occasion to talk about community banks and whether or not there were steps that could be taken that would ensure that the community banks are not overly burdened with regulations, and to separate out the community banks from regionals and big banks. And so it is not that Mr. Barney Frank or I or others believe that there never, ever, ever, ever can be any modifications, any changes. We have always said that we are open to technical changes and to working in areas where there may be confusion or appears to be duplication. So I want you to know that some of what is being raised with you is in ongoing discussions, and certainly, hopefully, if we can get the cooperation from the opposite side of the aisle on some of these issues, then there may be some room for some technical changes or modifications. Having said that, I'm interested in what's happening with our living wills. Under Title I of Dodd-Frank Act, as you know, robust living wills under Title I of Dodd-Frank Act are crucial in order to assure that we're truly ended too big to fail. In the past few years, many members of the public wrote to the FDIC and the Federal Reserve expressing frustration that the public portions of living wills have been disappointed. Specifically, the lack of public information makes it difficult for members of the public to assess the progress that firms and regulators have made on achieving the goals of Dodd-Frank, which is to reduce the complexity of the world's most significant financial institutions and allow them to be resolved under ordinary bankruptcy proceedings without endangering the broader economy. In an August 2014 press release, the Fed noted that both they and the FDIC will be working with large banks to explore ways to enhance public transparency of future plan submissions. I want to, if you can, to elaborate on this commitment. What additional information does the Fed plan on releasing to the public so that we can know whether or not you're doing what we intended in Wall Street reform? If each living will is thousands of pages long, does the public really have any transparency if the Fed is only releasing about 30 or so pages of the plans? Here's what I'm concerned about. First of all, we understand that the submissions are certainly not adequate, that they're not what they should be in many instances. These banks are huge, the big banks we're talking about. They are complex, and we believe that the very top, sometimes the CEOs don't even know and understand the complexity of their institutions. And these living wills are extremely important if we're to have a plan by which we can resolve them in the event we determine that they are putting us all at risk. What can you tell us and update us about these living wills?
So let me say that we're taking the living wills process very seriously. We have worked closely with the FDIC and last summer issued a set of joint letters to the largest firms, establishing a clear set of criteria of things that we want to see in their next submissions. They are very significant steps that will improve the odds of resolvability under the bankruptcy code. We've told them, for example, they need to establish a rational and less complex legal structure that would improve resolvability, that they need to develop a holding company structure to support resolvability, that they need to change the way in some of their derivatives contracts, stay provisions, include stay provisions that would aid resolvability. We've told them that they need to make sure that shared services that support critical operations in core business lines will be maintained throughout resolution. And we are working with the firms to make sure that by July of this year, when they make their next submissions, that we see very meaningful improvements. And I will say that in some of the largest firms, we have seen very meaningful steps toward reducing the number of legal entities along the lines that we have suggested. If we do not see the kind of progress that we expect, we have told these firms that we expect to find their submissions not credible. So we are taking this process very seriously. Now, these living wills, as you said, they're often tens of thousands of pages. They contain a great deal of confidential information that doesn't really belong, I think, in the public domain. But we have insisted that they provide information to the public in the public portion of their submission, and we are working with them to try to increase the amount of information, the amount of detail that is in the public portion, so that you would be able to get a better understanding of how they're proceeding on this.
Let me just move to another subject area quickly. Market manipulation. Paul Volcker, the architect of the Volcker Rule, has said that one key loophole that remains in his namesake rule is the merchant banking exemption, which allows our banks to engage in activity in the real economy. This includes activities like owning or controlling shopping centers, power plants, coal mines, or even oil tankers. Traditionally, we have wanted to separate the business of banking from activities in the real economy because blurring these distinctions runs the risk of banks engaging in anti-competitive behavior, manipulating markets, driving up costs for consumers, or just accruing too much political power over our economy. Any thoughts about that?
Well, with respect to physical commodities, the Fed is engaged in a very careful review of the activities that we have permitted along these lines, and with respect to the concerns they raise about safety and soundness, we're likely to propose new rules during this year. With respect to market manipulation, where there have been allegations of banks in the commodity areas manipulating markets, market manipulation is something that the CFTC and the SEC are charged with overseeing.
Chair now recognizes